just kind of hopping right into it, Harrison County was the first county in Kentucky to have a case of COVID.
Yes.
Oh, how did you find out initially?
Well, as you know me too well, I was actually at a field trial. Mm-hmm. It came out on a Friday, March the 5th, if I'm not mistaken. I was actually at a field trial getting ready, and the phone rang, and it was the mayor. I normally don't get a lot of phone calls from the mayor on a weekend when they know I'm out of town. So I quickly answered it, and he said, just want to let you know we've had a positive COVID case in Cynthiana. To give you a heads up, that way you can prepare your people. We're having a meeting in the morning. WEDCO was going to come in and have just a community partner meeting and let everybody know what to expect, what we needed to do to be safe. So that was where it started. March the 5th, I'm almost positive is where it was. So after March the 6th was when it was actually. So after that, we just had to I had to get a whole different game plan. So I had some information that I had to get to my personnel. So here I am calling my assistant, calling my operations manager for my dispatch department, because as you know, Cynthiana Fire and Dispatch is a small department. I mean, we're a small community and we have a small department. We do a great job with what we have, but it's minimal forces. So I've got 6 people on a shift at the fire department, 2 people on a shift at dispatch. So if I get 1 person at dispatch sick and 6 people sick at the fire department, I've lost like a whole shift of each department. So we had to do a lot of quick training for people on how germs, we all know how germs are transferred, but we tend to forget about it. And we touch our face and our mouth so much. The proximity of firefighters, we live together, we're in trucks. You've rode with us in the trucks when you was here photographing us before. We're right side by side, we're a family. It's hard to isolate a family from each other, so we had to figure out unique ways to take care of ourselves.
What were some of the ways that you guys ended up coming up with?
Well, the oncoming shift would report to the downstairs, and the offgoing shift would leave from upstairs and just go on home. There was no cross-contamination of shifts. So shift 1 would not, they would leave notes for shift 2 on we put a bulletin board up. So they would leave notes on the bulletin board. And they would just leave from upstairs. They'd get up and leave straight from upstairs. As that shift would come in at 7 to the downstairs, the other shift would leave. That shift would come in. As soon as they came in, they immediately sanitized everything, cleaned everything. That way they know they started with a sterile environment at that day. And the same way, Station 2, as you know, we have 2 stations. Station 2 had to stay at their station and not come down here. That way we didn't cross-contaminate stations, which come in handy because when Parkside had their first COVID case, which is a care home, they had their first COVID case. We were the first responders. We responded there, which was out of Station 2, that's in their district. They responded, was exposed to a COVID patient. And so by having that already in place, it saved us from cross-contaminating the whole shift. Now, luckily, those guys did not receive it because they didn't contract the COVID, because they had their eye protection on, their mask on, and they also had their gloves on. And the limitation, I think the time exposure on that case was 5 minutes. Just long enough to get them up, get them in an ambulance, and ship them on to the hospital. So they were in contact with them 5 minutes, and they had all their PPE on, which is personal protective equipment, and it saved them from having any ill effects of it. And also, it helped reinforce, because by this time we'd done 3 months, better than 3 months into COVID cases, and we hadn't seen any deaths. Some of us didn't really know people that had been sick, other than, oh, that was Bob that used to work at this store, or something like that. We didn't, nobody in our family or our immediate group, even our church group, had been involved in any COVID-19 cases. So it was getting to feel like it was maybe we could relax our safety precautions some. So that just reiterated, oh, we better make sure we follow the procedures and protocols that were set forth to help protect us by the CDC. So that was really our biggest change. And you've been with us before with the Mountain Workshop. You know how social we are. Mm-hmm. We're very social. We're in businesses. We love the community we serve. So that played a heavy role on our psychological side of the firemen. Mm-hmm. So we had to find different ways to kind of combat that. I mean, our training was shut down. We couldn't train for 2 months, almost 3 months. We couldn't do any training. So things that firemen strive to do, we couldn't do. Our run volume, because people were staying in, 80% of the people was not essential, so they were staying in their homes. So we weren't encountering as many people. There weren't as many accidents. There weren't as many fires. We weren't needed as much. So our run volume depleted quite a bit, and so there was a lot of more downtime. And it was we had a lot of different ideas we had to come up with. Zoom training, which firemen, we're more hands tools and going inside of tearing stuff up or rebuilding stuff. We're not delicate enough for computers sometimes. We expect them to work a whole lot faster than they do. So some of the Zoom training was a little bit of a challenge. Then you would get too many people on the network, then it would slow down. So yeah, it was a big learning curve for us. But luckily as firemen, the one thing you can guarantee, we'll figure a way to adapt and overcome that situation.
So for you personally, what was it like going from like having that drastic shift? I mean, pretty much overnight, where you are social and know everybody, hug everybody, like that emotional toll of that drastic change.
It was shocking. You've seen some of the young kids come around here for Halloween and stuff. They love coming to the fire station. I had to make decisions that now these kids can't come for tours at the fire station, because I've got to protect these firefighters so I can protect the rest of the community. So now I can't let you bring your child here for a station tour, because I don't know that. At that point, we did not know. We did not know how much. We know the distance and the time, but we wasn't for sure about masks. And as we learned, we adapted a little more, but it was hard. I mean, it's hard when I've got kids at Eastside. You've been with me at my Eastside program when we done the Sentinel program at Eastside. Every morning I would have kids come up and hug us and thank us for being at Eastside, helping protect them at the elementary school. And all of a sudden, boom, I don't see these kids anymore. It was difficult, but I guess what helped me get through it was seeing the difficult times my firemen were having, my firefighters were having. So I had to be a little bit stronger and put on a little bit better face and figure out ways to make things better for everybody. Not really better, but some coping mechanisms, if you will, for us. I just hope the sacrifices that we've put forth, and because as a chief officer, I have to try to make guarantees to my personnel. Hey, this is going to be okay. It's not going to last forever. To quote Andy, we'll get through this. We'll get through this together. I hope it's not forever, because I don't know. I'm going to run out of ways of helping them cope. Then I'm going to eventually run out of ways to help myself cope. Mm-hmm. But as long as they need me to help them cope, I think I can cope with the negative outcome from not being able to be as social as I used to be. You know me, I was in every business between here and the city office. I would stop, buddy's at a block, but I would stop and talk to Maggie or Molly or Henley, all the kids out playing in the front yards or whatever, in the businesses. I would stop and talk to those people. It's a big change. Now we wave through glass, or we have masks on and you hear somebody mumble and you try to make out what they're saying through their masks, but we make do.
What was it you said earlier? You can't to go get a cup of coffee, or you got to go three buildings.
If I go to get a cup of coffee, I've got to stop at 3 buildings and talk to at least 3 different people. Okay, that's the joke around here. Chief, could you run and get such and such at the hardware store? Hold on, somebody go with him and make sure he comes straight back with it. Because they know I'm going to stop and talk to people, and that's what our job is. It's the compassion we show for our community that's what makes us the people we are.
And it seems more important now than, it's always been important, but when there's such division on things like masks, it's hard to handle.
It is. You've got to try to find that neutral ground to help everybody understand, because not everybody believes that they should have to wear masks. I have always been a servant of somebody. I left home at 18 and went to the United States Army, so I was serving the nation, and I had people tell me what I would and would not do. I chose to do the things they told me to do. When I came out, I became a fireman, so I've had people tell me what I will and will not do for my own safety, and I've done them. Now that I'm a chief, I'm in a position to tell people what they have to do to meet protective standards for themselves and for the other people. So yeah, I'm in town and I'm sitting in a restaurant and you hear people fussing about whether you should wear a mask, whether you shouldn't wear a mask, whether this is a true global pandemic or if it's just a bad case of the flu or a cold. What we do know is we're 4% of the world's population and we have 25% of the world's COVID cases. It is a real thing. All you can do is try to educate people, and when you have people that spout things they've read on Facebook or things they've seen that my brother's sister-in-law told me, where did they find that at? Where did they get that at? Well, I don't know. Well, let's look. Here's some information you can use. The CDC information is accurate. They update it often. So let's look at that. Or, hey, we have a community meeting with WEDCO and the health department. Hospital staff's there, fire staff, EMS staff. The community leaders are there. Won't you show up to one of them and ask some of the questions you got, and we'll help you get some factual information. So just really the biggest part is to encourage proper education, I guess. Get proper information. So that's what we try to, we don't want to argue with them whether you should have masks, whether or not we have to wear a mask, because I'm not wearing a mask for my protection. We sit over 6 foot apart and to protect ourselves and be able to conduct an interview. Whereas normally, you'd be sitting across the table with 2 foot apart talking and wouldn't be worried about it. So I stay 6 foot apart from you and you do the same for me for my protection and your protection. I wear a mask for your protection. I don't want whatever I've come in contact in my 24 hours at the fire department or anybody else that I've come in contact to have the same worries. So I really wear a mask to protect you, not to protect me. And usually the public, if you let them know that, they understand it. They may not agree with it, but they see it in a little different light. Matter of fact, I actually told somebody the other day, I did not want to be responsible for feeling like I committed manslaughter and passed on something that could kill somebody or kill somebody that they come in contact with. That's a little harsh, but think about it. If I knowingly understand how germs are passed or this disease could be passed and I don't follow the protocol, I'm wrong. So I've got to live with that. And as you know, I've spent my whole career trying to protect people. So I'm going to continue to do that. And if it's just educating people that maybe don't understand completely, that's what I'll do. And the department's done a great job with it.
So when it comes to the community within Cynthiana and also within Harrison County, how have you seen any sort of shift in the atmosphere?
What I really just tickles me to death to see what these small businesses have done to make themselves accessible when they reopened, to meet the COVID expectations, to protect their customers. Be honest with you, I hope curbside service never goes away, because sometimes I'm in a hurry to go home after I get off work, and it's nice to be able to call Nola's and have them have me a catfish sandwich ready to take home when I just drive by and they bring it out. So that is super nice. But no, in all serious, some of the things that the restaurants have done, the small businesses downtown have done, trying to make it COVID friendly, I'm very proud of. They could, when small businesses could have said, I'm not going to be able to make it, and shut their doors, this community has come together and we've shopped online. We've curbsided. We've made appointments to where we could get there to get whatever we needed. This is no joke. We had a small flood here, if you remember, it's 1st of May. I needed muck boots for some of my firemen because we were going down in, we was in water up above ankle level, trying to help get some people some Post-its out, so notifications that people, the water was going to continue to raise. And sometimes it's easier to do that in person instead of doing a broadcast or have somebody drive by with a PA system and announce it. It's sometimes I feel like it's better for me to knock on a door and talk to your mother, your grandfather, or brother or sister, whoever it is, and explain to them, hey, we're looking at projections of the water being as high as it was in '97. I need you to be aware of this. Here's the information I've got. Please, I need you all to start evacuating. And you get more response out of that. So we had to do that during COVID. So we had to social distance, and we had to set up, because now I'm asking people to leave their homes. We had to call American Red Cross in and set up a shelter to house these people. Well, guess what? During COVID-19, you can't have shelters because you're not supposed to have that many people under one roof. So what we done, we reached out to WEDCO, and they have done such a great job. Our WEDCO district is wonderful. They jumped right in. They helped us. They got verification that we could do under 50. We just had to socially distance them. So what we done, I sent a crew of firemen up there with WEDCO, and they set up the cots socially distanced apart where each people had a little bit of space that they could stay in. And we got those set up, and we didn't have as many people go up as we could have had go up because some people had relatives they could go stay with. But we had several go up, and it worked out perfect. We had people donate food. I mean, it was just an excellent. The school board jumped on board. They let us use their gymnasium because they weren't having schools. So we had showers and everything right there. It was just, the community just come together, and it just happened. So that worked out great. But that was a big challenge we had to jump, was just the social distancing part when we done the shelter. So I got on a ramble and missed your whole question. What did you ask?
No, I was asking if the atmosphere within the city and county.
And I jumped, yes. So Cynthiana, Harrison County is a totally different beast than most places. Mm-hmm. We can come together and make things work. Be honest with you, in my personal opinion, the whole town and the whole county could be firemen because they can take a bad situation and mitigate it really quickly, and they come together. And I guess that's where I was going with that we went through the fire department, getting out the information to the residents, and the residents needing a place to stay, and us reaching out to the school board, and the school board willing to help us, and the WEDCO willing to help us set up a shelter to protect our evacuees. It's Harrison County. It's Cynthiana. What can I tell you? We just come together and make it work. And like I said there earlier, people started spending more money in town because they seen their brothers and sisters and their neighbors' business is losing money. So instead of going out of town to get something, even if you could have, they was buying it here at local hardware stores. They were ordering out more often. On a Friday when you would normally went in and had burgers or something on a grill at your house, people was ordering out here and helping the restaurant. I've seen some of the firemen leave larger tips than they normally leave for waiters and servers because they understood that they weren't getting the business that they were. So yeah, they just, the compassion shift, it's always here in Harrison County, Cynthiana. It just pops out bigger during an emergency or a global pandemic, a flood, a protest, and just anything. The compassion of this community is, I guess, what it drawed me to it so many years ago and made me want to raise my family here. So I guess in one word, if I had to sum it up, it would be the way it's shifted here is the compassion just got more visible. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. I think, that was kind of one of the first things that I noticed about Harrison County and Cynthiana personally, because, I come from Fleming County, Flemingsburg, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a small town, much like Cynthiana,
yes.
But all of the businesses in Fleming County are completely empty. All the buildings are mostly empty outside of one or two, but then there's places like Moorhead, Mount Sterling, they've got more business, but they're right along the interstate. And Cynthiana has nice access to Paris and stuff, but it's still not as prevalent as like having the interstate right there with Moorhead and Mount Sterling. So seeing all the businesses so full and all of the unique things here really caught my attention because it's not directly connected to a place that would bring in a lot of people, but it's still thriving locally. And I feel like that has to, like what you're saying has to be right, like it has to do with the compassion of the people and wanting to support local, and I think that's a really amazing thing.
It most definitely is. I was just talking to my mother who has moved about 6 years ago to Bowling Green to help my brother take care of my niece. Mm-hmm. First niece in the family. So she wanted to move down there. My boys, of course, have grown off, went to college. They're grown, so here she's got this brand new grandbaby. So she goes down to help him take care of it. And we were just talking the other day on the phone, and she said, Cynthiana is just, she said, I'm talking to my friends, and she said, Carol, one of her best friends, told her, said, this is going on in Cynthiana, that's going on in Cynthiana. And she's like, well, I leave, and Cynthiana just starts doing everything. But I seen the switch. The mayor and this commission has been in, if you'll look back, Mayor Smith and this commission has been in for about 5 years. So you see a lot of hometown people wanting this hometown and taking chances on opportunities that some people would be afraid to take a chance on. I think that's the survivability of a community like Cynthiana, is let's make a decision. I always say as a fire chief, hey, especially to a new officer, there's a right decision, there's a wrong decision, and there's indecision. We do not have the choice to be indecisive. We've got to make a wrong decision or a right decision. I hope you make a right one all your career. The chances are, the same as mine, you're going to make some wrong decisions. But guess what? You can make another decision to change that decision. We cannot be indecisive. So I think by the decision making of the community coming to the commission and to the county judge and the magistrates and coming up with these new ideas, hey, can we open up a microbrewery in town? What? We ain't never had a microbrewery in town. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's try it. Yeah. Guess what? It works. Hemp. We're one of the bigger hemp places we have Hemp Day. We didn't get to have it this June on account of COVID, but in June we have Hemp Day. So we try, innovative with what we will try. We will try to do stuff because we can not try anything and fall into a paradigm, or we can do different things, and if they don't work, we can change. So I guess being fluent, willing to flow and change a little bit like a river. Maybe that's the reason maybe us being on a river town has helped us learn we have to change a little bit. I mean, this river flows north. How many rivers flow north? There's just a couple of them. So, I think it's part of it, just being willing to be open-minded. And when the open-minded, if it doesn't work, we change and we're open-minded somewhere else. So there's a lot of facets to what makes Cynthiana, Harrison County a great community and great place, and able to rebound from anything that's thrown at us. It may just take us a little longer some days, but and we will come together. And politics, coronaviruses, or race, we will all come together. It just takes us, sometimes we just have to be pushed, pulled, or carried in the right direction. But we have to have people willing to help us do that, and seems like we do here.
So kind of backtracking a little bit, I did want to ask maybe like some specifics on how your runs in the fire department have changed.
Juliana, our runs have changed so much. This is not, and this is what hurts us more and it really gets in their psyche a little bit. If we make a run to your house and you've got a loved one, it's an emergency, I see most people at the worst time of their life when I'm actually doing my job as a firefighter or a fire chief and we're on scene of an emergency. That's usually the worst time of somebody's life. Before COVID-19, I'd love to put my arm around you and give you a hug and maybe ask you, did you pray, and say a prayer with you? And that helped me get over the death that we seen or the destruction, whatever it was, whatever the emergency was. It helped me deal with it too. Now I can't touch you. Now I got to treat you like you've got COVID. And not only you, I've got to treat me like I've got COVID and not give it to you. So we get out wearing goggles, wearing gloves, wearing masks. I mean, and this is just on somebody a difficult breathing call, or somebody's got a diabetic emergency. I mean, we have got, before you've seen us, we jump off the truck, we got our medical bag, we're in our Cynthiana Fire Department polo shirt or our t-shirt and our blue pants with a pair of rubber gloves on. Now and you can look up our face and see her smile or see her sincerity in her face. Now we jump off the truck, we've got safety glasses on, we've got a mask on that's covering 2/3 of our face, we've got rubber gloves on, and sometimes we've got gowns on. I mean, it's a little scary for the patient or the person having an emergency, and it's a little disconcerting from us because we're very, as we've talked before, we're very social and personal people. We feel with compassion. We feel for our fellow Cynthianans and Harrison Countyans, and when we have to keep that distance, it's almost robotic. It's almost an assembly line kind of mentality, and we don't like it. I can promise you. I want to be able to kneel at the bumper of the car and pray that you was okay in this accident, or want to be able to talk to you and tell you, let's say a prayer and thank God that you didn't lose everything in this house fire. At least your kids got out or you got out. You know what I'm saying? So I guess that's it. That's what we've seen such a big change on, is that we're not very personal no more. Cynthiana Fire Department was always, my PR campaign 12 years ago when I became chief was I wanted a fireman's name in every house in Cynthiana. I wanted our name to come across somebody's lips in your household at one time or another. Hey, Cynthiana Fire Department opened their car door when we locked it out when we was out at Black Friday. Hey, them guys at Cynthiana Fire Department are pretty cool. They put my sister's car seat in for her and showed her how to do it properly. Hey, the Cynthiana Fire Department come up here and helped us hang the flag at our business because the flag got tangled up in a flagpole and we couldn't get nobody to fix it for us. That's what I wanted. COVID-19 is trying to take that away a little bit. So we just got to find out different ways to do things. So we're looking at reopening. We've started back doing car seats. We're doing most of those by appointments. If you call and say I need to have a car seat installed, because we have professional, actual certified installers, we'll tell you, all right, we can do it. When's good for you? You'll say, I'd like to do it on Tuesday. We'd say do it at 10:30 Tuesday morning, and we'll ask you to be masked, be by yourself, of course. That way we don't have as many people to deal with, and we're on social distance. So you can pull a car in the gravel lot, and you can get out, and you can stand back 6 feet, and we'll keep social distance. And we'll glove up, mask up, and get inside the car and put the car seat in. We'll explain it to you, but with social distancing, so we're learning how to be compassionate and caring from a distance, I guess. And that's been one of the bigger challenges for us, serious.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was my next question to you was, for you personally, when you are on those runs and you're kind of alienated with these like goggles and the whole mask, I mean, what have you found so far that's worked to be able to resonate that same compassion that you were able to have before?
If you can find a softness, if you can find kind of a happy place in your mind, your eyes will smile. I mean, you're a photographer. I'm sure you've seen it. Some people's eyes, just when they smile under a mask, you can almost see a smile in their eye when they smile. So you need to learn, and I'm doing a horrible job at it because I haven't followed up on it real well, but I've thought just some basic sign language, being able to thank people because it is hard, especially with some of we have an aging community here. It's hard hearing my voice under a muffled mask sometimes, and if they have hearing devices or there's noise going on, fire truck pumps running, diesel engines running, it's hard for them to hear us. So just trying to be a little personal, maybe pick up a thank you sign language, or speak with your eyes a little softer. I have children sometimes. If it's children, I have been known to step back and have a social distance of better than 6 feet, and I might pull my mask down a little bit where they can see my face, and I'll give them a smile, just to relax them a little bit so they know that there's somebody kind behind the mask. Firemen we're not strangers to masks. You've seen us in our SCBA mask, but it's a big plexiglass bubble, so you can see part of my face. So basically, that's it. Soften your eyes, soften your demeanor. And you can research a little bit of that stuff, how to be a little more softer in your presence. You've seen people that if you walk in a room and you just want to interview somebody and you're like, ooh, I don't know if I want to interview that person. They look a little standoffish just by the look, the way they stand and their eyes. Same way, we just try to soften up any features we can. And sometimes we may have to pull a mask down and socially distance ourselves and give a little smile. And let somebody know it's going to be okay.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you about that you'd like to say or add about anything? Fire department, COVID, Cynthiana?
Just remember all your emergency workers, your firefighters, your 911 personnel that's in the emergency centers that are receiving these calls. They're protecting us tremendously because they're screening calls before we get them and trying to help us out. They've all been mandatory work. They're essential personnel. They've had to work every day. Police officers have had to work every day with the COVID crisis going on, and the pandemic. So just throwing my hands up. It's hard to smile at them behind a mask, but you can always throw my hands up and give them a thank you sign. And just remember, we're always there for you, and glad to do it. That's what we signed up for. No matter what you throw at us, we're going to be here trying to protect you against it, okay? But no, I think it's been a great learning experience for all of us. I worried at first with a lot of the divide. It's wrong, it's right, we shouldn't have to do this, we should do this. That it could cause separation in even small units. But I've been lucky, and this department makes me proud every day by doing the right thing. So, and I owe the success of this department to all the personnel that work for me, and for the commission and the mayor that allow us to do the job we love. So I am proud of them, and I'd want to thank them for it. And thank you for always giving us an opportunity to speak out and say how much we love doing our job.